Never shall innocent blood be shed, yet the blood of the wicked shall flow like a river. The three shall spread their blackened wings and be the vengeful striking hammer of God. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
Now you will receive us. We do not ask for your poor or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
With every breath, we shall hunt them down.
Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies.
Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace.
These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And those of you that ignore them will pay the dearest cost.
There are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth, not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain.
For if you do, one day you will look behind you and you will see we three. And on that day, you will reap it.
And we will send you to whatever God you wish.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. Therefore may swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be.
In nomine Patri.
Et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
How far are we going to take this, Star?
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution? The depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
Guys,
Good evening, gentlemen.
good evening.
Nick, you're back on camera with us tonight.
Yeah, I'll probably turn it back off. My eyes been giving me crap, so
Okay.
I might put my special glasses on. Been recovering my eyesight. Getting better
Yeah,
week by week.
we don't want to lose that.
Less computer time, the better your eyes are.
Exactly. And I remember to take my contacts out at night, take some Benadryl. Helps. Yeah.
All right. So,
There you
hey,
go.
Shu.
Might help.
Shu is in the chat already.
No.
So tonight, let's see, are the past 3 weeks, we've kind of done some pretty heavy duty red pill stuff. So tonight we're going to go in a completely different direction. And I want to talk, this is a trend that I'm noticing, and I want to end the show on with kind of an idea that I've had.
All right.
So we'll get there, but as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Twitter, so I've been stacking up Twitter posts to look at tonight. I won't be playing any of the videos in them because the purpose of these Twitter posts is not to discuss the Twitter posts themselves. It's to build a picture of what's going on through the Twitter posts. So you guys can go find all the individual news hits and idea posts that are being posted out there. You're going to get a little bit of a look into my follow list tonight. So, but so
Right.
the go ahead.
I was just saying, all right.
All right.
Lots of
I
Twitter
think
posting.
this is. I think this is useful. The news keeps happening,
Yes.
but people don't often delve into the sentiment or the reactions of the general populace to the news and about being pulled every which way. So if we can talk about, it's kind of a meta discussion, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about geopolitics before, as you guys know, and as our longtime followers know. And we've always kind of picked on a different part of the world. We did a China-focused stream. We did a Eurasian stream. We did of course, we did our Civil War stream and why we don't think there's going to be a civil war. For note, tonight I am still going to stand by that assertion, but I'm going to put a different edge on it, because having watched the news flow really for 2 years in general, but since the Venezuela Maduro stuff in specific and everything that's gone on since, I think there's a very particular trend that I'm seeing that I want to call out tonight. So first, we're going to build a little bit of a picture, what's going on, and then we're going to get into some idea generation, some narrative look. Go ahead.
Just to define this, when you say there will be no, you don't think there'll be a civil war, you're not saying there won't be civil strife.
Correct.
Okay.
Remember the troubles.
Yeah, no, that's it. No, Nick, that is exactly correct. When we think of civil war, we tend to think of, in the United States, culturally, our baggage is armies lining up in a field somewhere in Pennsylvania or Virginia or Alabama and shooting muskets at each other through fence lines, right? That's how we think of civil wars. The U.S. Army does not use that definition. Okay. The U.S. Army has a four-stage definition that it uses. and we don't even currently qualify as insurgency. I'm not going to get into the whole reasons why. There's guys you can follow who will better explain it than I ever could. But according to the U.S. Army Handbook on asymmetrical warfare, we do not currently qualify as an insurgency. We could, and tonight I do kind of want to show a little bit of how we might be pushed into that. And I know this is a geopolitics episode, and trust me, we are going to spend a lot of time in the rest of the world tonight. But as the title says, this is U.S. versus the world.
Oh. Yep.
And I think at the end I'll be able to tie all this together. So, okay. These tweets might not be in order, and some of them kind of span. They span different ideas. So I will be asking our audience to actually engage their thought processes tonight. Make it bigger here.
Yeah.
Is that big enough, or do I need to go one bigger?
Read it. I mean, you might want to go one bigger, but I can read it on my bigger screen.
I put on my glasses. I can read it now.
Okay, we can
That's
get
even better.
Tick bigger there. Okay. So this is one of my follows on a different account. A lot of these are going to be different accounts. This is just a dude. Actually, this dude right here. I
already know who he is.
Oh yeah, no, I
No.
yes, he deserves all the scorn you can muster because, and this was January 13th, so 2 weeks ago, accepted 1.8 million per year to push Indian propaganda against the American people. Now, this is obviously this guy is a very anti-immigration person. Specifically, he's being paid to lobby the U.S. government using his access to Trump for the Indian government in general, but Indian work visas in specific.
Conflict of interest already.
Well, there's of course a national conflict of interest, but this is how people do. Okay, this is how you make their money. Okay, so
economic zone, not a country, right?
Yeah, well, yes, that is, and I don't have it, but I don't have it up. But there's a video going around of Newt Gingrich basically offering up amnesty now because of the bad optics of Minneapolis. That's all domestic stuff. I don't want to get too in the weeds in that. That's why I didn't pull it up tonight.
Okay.
But okay, so let's continue on with the India theme for just a minute. Oh shit. The Indian in charge of CISA, so CISA is the Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency. They basically run all of the federal government's non-defense infrastructure and security programs. And they do a lot of work with like reporting, working with industry. Okay, here's this problem, we need to report it. They do a lot of real legwork in this cybersecurity space. The Indian in charge of the CISA was caught uploading sensitive documents to the public version of ChatGPT. Oh my God.
As if our windows weren't running well enough. Well, we have that problem too.
Oh, well, yes. Indians can in fact not write code as well as Americans can. Not that I think this is going to be a particularly shocking statement to our audience. They suck. I've worked with them. They suck at it. And they mostly tried to get us Americans to do their work for them. More than once, while I was at my big tech stint, I told them to pound sand because I had enough work as it was. Um, so yeah, there we go. So okay, now I think we can agree that this is a bit of a national security issue, possibly, maybe being reported. Oh, sorry, being reported by Politico. You know,
Oh,
not a right wing rag, by the way. Okay. So now DHS has to get involved and do a security review. Yay for that. Okay. So retarded Indian in charge of the cybersecurity infrastructure of the United States uploads sensitive documents to Chat GPT. Okay, this guy is not smart, but here he is. Okay. Let's take a look here. What else is going on? Let's do China for a little bit. So this is a tweet about Absolute Resolve was the extraction of Nicolas Maduro out of Venezuela. But he's primarily talking about China. So a little detail that has probably escaped a lot of people's notice was at the time of the raid, there was a Chinese delegation on the ground in Caracas. And they were there to negotiate more of this, the radar, basically more military and financial deals. And so China had no idea it was coming. And if you guys remember, so we had the Iran operation back in June of last year, and everyone knew it was coming. Why did no one know it was coming now? Or the Venezuela one was coming now? Well, it's pretty simple. President Trump didn't tell anybody outside of his top leaders inside the administration. I mean, you could tell something was going to come, but you didn't know when. Okay. That meant not telling Congress. Okay. Well, Congress is almost half Democrats who might be in the bag for the Chinese. Oh, shit.
We found out last time there's some Democrat people that were sensitive to Chinese spying.
Right. So Iran was in some ways used to expose who was sending information publicly. And it was public in the case of the Iran stuff. A lot there. Of course, we have to deal with all the China propaganda. We've dealt with that. Their radar systems can kill stealth. If you guys want a great video breakdown on that, go look up Habitual Line Crosser's video. He actually worked in air defense for the U.S. Army, and he has to tread carefully because he speaks on classified systems, or he knows the classified systems, and he tries not to speak on them. It's kind of fun to listen to him because he'll just stop and he's thinking about what not to say. But there's kind of an interesting side story that's going on with Venezuela, and that is, I mentioned that Venezuela was there to do negotiate more military and financial contracts, or whatever you want to call them, and then President Trump yoinks the Maduro character right out from under them. Okay, that's great. And then all of a sudden, the oil stops flowing to China. Whoops. Huh. Now, there's other things going on there too. There was I don't have any tweets up for this, but if you guys remember, there was the sanctioned oil tanker that was trying to get to Venezuela and then immediately
Changing its flags or something like that.
Yeah,
That one-
it changed its flags to a Russian flag, thinking that would stop the U.S. from boarding it. We boarded it and stole the freighter. The freighter was not operating under load; it was functionally empty. The freight guy I followed said it was operating under ballast, was the term he used. So we just yoinked a sanctioned Russian freighter. That was fun. But that's tied up in this Venezuela stuff. Okay. Well,
So
why
hold on here.
Go ahead, Steve.
Did the U.S. use stealth aircraft in this operation to retrieve Madero?
Okay. Yes. They did.
Really? U.S. has stealth helicopters.
Yeah, the 160th SOAR has really cool Blackhawks.
Okay, well, there were Russian. Okay, I'm going to throw out an alternative theory here. The Russians and the Chinese had anti-aircraft batteries and whatnot there.
They did,
Nothing
yes.
shot anything. So we can assume one of two things. They were shut down or they were ineffective. If they were shut down, we can assume, oh, there were bribes paid to the Venezuelans to shut them down. Or there were deals made with the Russian and Chinese to shut them down. If there were deals made to the Chinese and Russians to shut them down, it was an operation of a different type.
Okay. I see where you're going with this.
And also, Venezuela does ship oil to China, but it's only like 5% of the oil that China gets.
Yep. Okay.
So
Steve,
it's not a huge number.
if we made a deal with China, China would not have sent their delegation because they would have known. So that's pretty easy to shoot down right there. If we had made a deal with Russia, they would not have taken in that that freighter. We did not do that. And again, HLC can give you a long breakdown of exactly what happened in there to the best of his knowledge. But the actual answer is Ukraine has given us not just tape, like data on Russian hardware. They have given us examples of the Russian hardware, and we tore it down in its physical component parts. And the thing to know is all of the Chinese systems are derivative of Russian systems. So what actually happened is we were able to remotely disrupt their hardware through what we got from Ukraine. That's the actual answer of what happened.
You are assuming our primary enemies are China and Russia.
No, I'm not. Oh. I'm just saying Ukraine gave us the data to do this, and we used it to shut down the.
Maybe.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm still holding out. I don't know. Yeah.
That's their best tech, though.
Is probable and plausible. But we still don't know for certain because we are moving from a unipolar world to a multipolar world, no matter what the U.S. does. And if it becomes a multipolar world, there will be there are three main powers today: U.S., Russia, and China, with their own spheres of influence. How are we going to manage that? Okay, are we friends with them? No. Are they our ultimate enemy? Maybe not. The whole world is changing. Who is our ultimate enemy? Well, might be.
There you go.
Well, we will get into Europe here a bit later.
Hey, okay. I mean, it's a jumbled mess. Let's just say that.
Well, sure. The thing is there has been absolutely zero evidence of payoffs or tip-offs to the Russians and Chinese. The Chinese, if they knew, they would have immediately turned around and told Venezuela they have far too much of their own capital and physical infrastructure tied up in that country not to.
Well, I agree
the idea that
don't trust the Chinese.
Right. The idea that we told the Chinese and paid them off, that's on the deep end of the conspiracy theory spectrum, and I am no, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I didn't say we paid off Chinese. I thought we maybe paid off Venezuelans and convinced the Chinese government to chill out.
We might have convinced the Chinese government to chill out after the fact. That I would believe, because they did have their delegation there, and they said nothing about it. So we might have gone to them and told them, you will say nothing, or we'll hit you with insert whatever tool they want. That
Sure.
Right. That I would believe, but and in advance, no, we told no one. And that's very clear. If nothing else, the Chinese would have dumped the story into the news cycle. They own most of our news outlets. You would have heard about it from somewhere, just to cause chaos. So same with Russia. Russia would happily do that because they don't even need Venezuelan oil. That's okay. So, but I hope this gives you guys a little bit of insight into how I approach these sort of topics. The best information I have says that we be using our knowledge gained from the Ukraine war. We're able to remotely knock out the facilities. Because the thing about buyouts is they work on some people, but you need all the people. And so you still have to go in knowing you can fully knock out the system if the buyout strategy doesn't work. So that's more of a yes and, right? But the primary killer was we have deconstructed the actual Russian hardware, and we know exactly how to attack it down at the physical hardware level. So the interesting thing about Venezuela there is, I mean, there's two interesting things. First, it was a massive technical flex for the United States, right? As this guy's saying, oh yeah, we just exposed the futility of these stealth killer radar systems. HLC does a great explanation of why everyone gets that wrong. I will defer to him and not even try to explain it on this channel. And it's a bit of a rabbit hole anyway. So, and as this guy says, we now have control of 4% of the oil going into China. And the 20% coming from Iran is also vulnerable. There was, of course, at the time, the Iranian uprisings recent set were just getting started. So that's what this guy's talking about. Okay, very cool. So we've been talking about China a lot. Want to talk about China some more?
All right.
This is a video. I've got it on mute. This is a okay. By the way, Mike Shelby is, if you guys don't follow him, you need to follow him. Here he is. He's talking about China's fertility rate and how it just fell off a cliff. It did. There was a number that came out. God, when was this? A couple weeks ago.
No, it hasn't been this bad in 300 years.
Yes, exactly.
7 to 10 days ago. It's pretty recent.
Right. Yes, Nick, you're correct. You said the lowest birth rate since 1720 something.
1738.
1738, yeah. So again, and we've talked about China's demographic problems ad nauseum before.
I'm pretty good at these numbers. In 1738, China had a population of about 145 million.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
And okay, their recent number for birth rate was 7.82 million. Something like that.
7.82 million. You faded out
Yeah,
there a bit.
pretty good. Okay, so that was 2025. 2024, their birth rate was 9.2, a bit over 9. So they had a 17% drop from 2025, from 2024 to 2025. And okay, they supposedly have 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
And the Chinese government reported the number of babies born in China was 7.82 million. So it was a Chinese person went back in Chinese history, recorded history, and we don't know exactly in 1738, but they had to go back that far till the birth rate was 7.82 million of a population of 1/10 the size that China currently has. And even in the Great Famine in China in the 1960s, when people were starving to death and the population was obviously lower, they still had more people. So the conjecture and conclusion is no possible way can there be that many people in China now. And we previously talked about that. It's now 1.4 billion people. It's at most maybe 800 million, could be 600, could be 500 million. And the young people are not having kids. There is no possible way, no matter how poor your birth rate, that if you have over a billion people, that you only have 7.82 million. It doesn't math.
So there's a few,
Go ahead.
few reasons for this. We've talked about this in episodes before. Okay. Massive inflation in China. They lied about their numbers. They had to admit it. I think it was like a year ago. They finally admitted that they kind of fudged their number. They fudged their numbers. Even though I don't know if they walked back to 1.4 yet, but it's obviously not that. Their birth rates are low. Why are the birth rates low? Getting high inflation, men getting divorced, raped. Of course, they try to now remedy some of those laws, but probably too little too late. The women are feminized. It's a global problem. Women are feminized there. And the men are just like, you know what? We're just going to go fishing.
Well, what other choice do they have? And that's what this video is actually talking about here. Again, I'm not going to play it. Fertility rate in China's major cities is collapsing to a level lower than Japan or South Korea. Now, Japan and South Korea are very well trusted, very well established numbers. We've talked about them. You can look them up. They are low. And he's saying they're lower. Okay. And this is something that we've said on our show. It's not because young people don't want kids. Okay. Now, he has his reasons. You know, China fires people at 35, destroys stability, makes family life. Yeah, okay. In general, yes. But at the end of the day, humans are not terribly complex creatures. And almost all decisions humans make are about survival. It's that simple. Yeah, sure, exactly. Yes, it really is too. When you actually go look at the data, it is lower than South Korea, which is the lowest up until this point in the world.
The supposed rate in China was 0.98.
Yeah, South
Lower
Korea is
than
like
one.
South Korea was like 1.1 or something like that. I don't remember exactly, and I don't have it up. So when
0.72 in 2023.
Oh no, okay, sorry, no, he's talking about cities. Chinese, the rural areas account for most of their population birth. So, okay,
Yeah.
there's your clarification. He's talking about cities. Their cities are lower than 0.73, which is just
Okay.
terrible. Okay. Their rural areas are probably higher than that to balance it out. But the rural areas are just that. They're rural. There's not very many of them. And Steve, that's how we get to 7.82 million. There's just not that many out in the rural areas. So your nominal number born sucks. But this is how
Yeah.
right. I mean, the math is what it is. So when people are making these decisions, it's not rebellion, it's not sloth, it's not laziness, all the famous boomercon words to describe the young generation. No. China they're leading the pack on this, but they are by no means the last to experience this. People make birth decisions when they can, how they can. Okay. If you want to have kids, if you want, as a nation, if you want to have kids, you need to be looking at everything but the people, because humans, well, red pill moment, humans love fucking. How can we, and the red pill is all about how to get more fucking going, right? Like that's
Yeah. Okay. Now think about this. Got a one-child policy. Okay.
Can't hear you, Steve.
One child. You have a one-child policy. And traditionally in China, the oldest son it has a responsibility of caring for the parents.
Correct, yes.
So you kind of want a son.
Yes.
And when Mao took over, you went communist. Morality was suppressed.
Yeah.
China always historically was pretty moral people, but that sentiment of morality and the necessity of morality took a backseat to production. And we're seeing this in the amount of what they do to gather info and copy things. They're currently not a moral people. It's taken a backseat. So anyway, you might abort the daughters and have sons. So there's a shortage of daughters. But now certain families only have one daughter. Well, now father and mother, my child has to provide. So you know what? We got this bride price thing. Well, now we need to sell our daughter for a high price because she's in demand. Meanwhile, we're going to send our daughter for an education. So now she's get these highfalutin ideas and thinks basically her shit doesn't stink. And she sets her price higher. But a lot of the men are just average guys. So average guys cannot afford her price.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been trained to think her shit doesn't stink. And you have this huge disconnect. So, you know what? People don't get together anymore. So you wonder why you have a problem. You upset the whole social structure of your society. Morality took a downturn. You had fewer children. You elevated the status of women, and you blew smoke up their ass. And so, they're not getting together anymore.
And they did end the one child policy in like 2015.
They did
10 years ago. But these people are still. It's two. But
it's
do
3,
these people
actually.
really trust? Oh yeah, they did change it to 3 in 2021. I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you changed so many other things in your social fabric that it wasn't the policy. Ending the policy doesn't fix things.
But the people there, they also fear their government. So they're like, is it really okay to have more than one?
Correct. Yes.
There's a problem of people disappearing. And if they're found, their organs, some of their organs might be missing.
Yeah.
At least there are legitimate reports of people believing this. I can't say that it's happening, but there are people legitimately believe this to happen, and including young children. So, do I want to have a child and put him at the mercy of the government that my child might be disappeared and that? No, I'm just not going to do that. Doesn't matter. Again, doesn't matter if it's real. It matters if people believe it's real.
Bingo. Correct. The Chinese system, whatever it is or is not, in fact, is what the people of China believe it to be. And because of what they believe it to be, whatever that belief set is, they are making choices based on survival. Okay? So, CSA, yes. Or chain smoking patriots. Oh, you're smoking nerd now? Okay. Chinese women have out of mind expectations too. Look out, boss babe, Western women. You got competition. Yeah, they do. And again, we've covered this. We did a red pill China video about that. You know, we don't need to go again too far down the rabbit hole here. But China has problems. And China's problems, I'm not going to say that they can be solved by starting a war, because diversionary foreign policy always fails. And in fact, almost unilaterally ends the regime that tries it. But when you're looking at things from their perspective, what have they got to lose? And this is how diversionary foreign policy always goes, right? Well, what have I got to lose? The answer, of course, is you have your entire system to lose. But humans don't really think that way. So China's struggling. One of the ways out of this mess is to greatly increase your access to energy resources. Because the fewer people you have, the more energy you need to substitute to do things, right? Your choices are you have humans do it or you have machines do it. So, but machines need enormous amounts of energy to run. So the idea here would, so that goes back to what we were talking about Venezuela earlier. Okay. 4% of oil doesn't sound like much, but the thing you have to understand, and Nick, you can back me up on this, oil demand is extremely inelastic. The price of light crude on NYMEX swings on like a 1% differential in demand or something like that. It's just insane how little, 4% doesn't sound like much to us because we think, oh, well, they still have 96% left. But the reality is you take
else and that can go take that 4% away, take 20% away. You have a massive problem.
Yeah.
If they cannot find another source to replace it.
Correct. So
at even a slightly higher price, because yes, I agree, demand is pretty inelastic. Unless if the price goes up by 50%, you're going to reduce demand by maybe 5%.
Yeah,
it's unequal. Unequal.
Very much so.
Inelastic.
So and of course, if you take away the energy, now the system that is destroying young people in China will no longer have the energy to supplement, that's the word I'm looking for, to supplement the destruction of the young people with a rise of machines, robotics to take care of the elderly, etc. You just won't have the energy to produce and run those things. So that's part of the bigger geopolitical play that's going on here. Okay. More China. This actually did happen. I had a fun little giggle over this one because Steve, didn't we talk about this? Nick, did we talk about this?
We touched on this, the strife between China and Russia.
So Russian Z bloggers, these are the also known as tankies. These are the pro-war guys. Russian Z bloggers are claiming that China has now effectively taken over a large part of Russia's Far East. China is now allegedly earning taxes from areas from Chita all the way to Vladivostok. And so Chita is over here and Vladivostok is down here. With a large Chinese population now residing there. Oh. Now, I said this before when we were doing our China episode, that when I look at the force tables, the spreadsheets that, okay, here's what China has, they're missing some key components to take Taiwan. Again, I'm not saying they can't do it, or that they won't try to do it. I'm saying that they're missing a few things that they need to have to do it, and they're not building those things, and they're pretty big things. They're whole freaking ships that they have to build. So again, I'm not saying they won't try, because it's very difficult for the top echelon to get good information with how much corruption there is in China. And again, we've covered tofu drag construction and all of that before. So, like, there's a ton of corruption in China. Yes, there was a big purge of the generals yesterday. I don't have good information on that, so I'm not gonna try and bring too much of that up. But we talked about this. If China's military, go ahead, Nick.
When they say effectively take over, I mean, they have a lot of workers in those areas.
Yeah. Yes. So think of it as a slow motion migration. So if you're Russia, the only way to get people to work anything here is to hire Chinese from the local, local towns, right?
But Vladivostok itself used to be part of China.
Not officially, but it's working that way.
Okay, remember, people don't know this about Russia. We think the Russians. No. Bullshit. There are the Rus. Rus are the ethnic Russians.
Correct, yes.
Russia has so damn many ethnic groups that you actually
14 major ones.
Yes, you have Asian Russians.
Correct, yes.
Ask them, oh, what nationality are you? Well, I'm Russian. They are Russian. They're not Rus. So keep in mind, this whole part of Russia is very sparsely populated.
Very.
And there are minimal distinctions between the ethnicity, the skin color, of people on either side of the border over here. There aren't that many Russians in this area. And there aren't really all that many Chinese in this area. But who's closer to the heart of your country? Well, obviously China. And so this area, yeah, it has a border, but it's always been kind of a fluid area. So is this at all surprising? No. Has Russia been able to build out their infrastructure throughout anywhere would be what, east of the Ural Mountains. Not so much, no.
Right.
They got a few rail line. They got a major rail line between Moscow and Vladivostok,
Yes,
but not a lot of roads, not a lot of
No
branch
roads.
lines.
Um,
So okay, it's just way the fuck different than when we think about the U.S. Oh, we got roads from one side of our country to the other. Lots of roads. We got railroads from one side of the country to our other. Lots of railroads. No, Russia isn't like that. And for that part matter, China isn't like that. But China has been building shit. They've been building their infrastructure big time in the last 20 years.
well,
Russia, not so much.
to illustrate the point that Steve's making, I blew up the map here. Harbin, can't pronounce that. Changchun. These are all look at the road network. If you guys can see it, I don't know that I can make it any bigger. The road network here,
kind of.
right?
It
So you
all
got
comes from China.
right. Okay, let's look up here. Big cities. Okay, Irkutsk is a big for this part of Russia, and then of course you have Vladivostok down over here. Okay, but that's it. That's all. That's all there is. So it doesn't really matter whether you're Russian or Chinese in this part of the world because you're ethnically Chinese-ish anyway. So, yes. And now here's the thing. Remember how Russia started the war with Ukraine? They said, oh, the Ukrainians are suppressing the Russian people in the Donbass. We have to go in and save them. Well, were there lots of Russians in the Donbass? Yes, there were. Lots of historical reasons for that. Were they being oppressed? That's debatable, probably never to be fully known the full truth there. Okay. Do you see how China can play that exact same game here? They can say, well, look, we have to take this part of Russia. These are our ethnic compatriots. They're more us than they are Russians. We should just move in and take this part. Oh, and by the way, Russia, you're going to lose Vladivostok and your only Pacific warm water naval base that you have. That happens, Russia is no longer a geopolitical power. It is a rump state with nukes.
Them's fighting words for Russians. Fuck you. We're keeping Vladivostok.
Okay.
With what?
Fact. Yeah.
Whatever it
fact.
takes.
Go ahead, Nick.
It's almost 10,000 miles from the west part of Russia all the way to Vladivostok.
That's correct. Yes.
Yep. Train to 7 days train ride from Moscow to Vladivostok. Versus New York to LA is only like 2,700 miles.
Yes. And here's the thing. That train is the only link. There are no transnational roads in Russia. There are parts where you can only go by train to get to Vladivostok. And it's one rail line. That's it. The Trans-Siberian Rail Network. That rail network was built. There was a bunch of wars that were fought. Starts with the Opium Wars, and Japan and wars with Japan. And this is all going on in the mid 1800s. At the end of it, Russia comes to China and says, well, we will help you defeat the British and the Japanese if you just sign this piece of paper. The Chinese sign the paper, and the paper includes language that they have to give up Manchuria. That's what it was known as back then. Sarah Payne of the U.S. Naval War College does a great lecture on the history of this. The Russians screwed over the Chinese, and the Chinese are still salty about that to this day. So the Chinese have the same cover that Russia used to do this. They have the same motivations, the historical motivations to do this. They can pull a Russian and say, aha, but this was our historical lands. And it kind of was, if you consider Manchurians to be Chinese, which is a bit of a stretch because Chinese ethnic is the Han ethnicity. Manchurians would be more northern and Mongolia. So
Yeah, but China has a lot of ethnic groups too.
yes, it does.
The Chinese are not, well, there might be predominantly Han, but Chinese are not exclusively Han.
Correct. I learned this recently. There's a ton of Vietnamese ethnicity living in China, and I had no. It's down south off this map, but I had no idea. Oh, there's a significant.
I'm sure there's some Korean Chinese.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Because at the border, okay, all borders are kind of artificially derived or derived. So, are you saying that the groups across this artificial border, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, were not ethnically the same? Yeah, we're finding out they are. That it happens all over the world. Borders are not drawn ethnically. Modern borders are not ethnic.
Correct.
Predominantly.
In general, they're not. Oh, and
just like the border between the U.S. and Canada.
The straight line.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of fluidity. Oh, North Dakota was a lot of the settlement of North Dakota came from the north, from Winnipeg. Oh, they were Canadians, French Canadians. North Dakota has a lot of French Canadian towns, or at least the names. The border was fluid.
Oh. Well, welcome to the return of history, guys. Okay. So, Tacticus, you mentioned Greenland. Okay, let's talk about Greenland. Next on my list.
Oh, no.
You knew it was going to come up. Now, this is a whole long post. He's trying to describe the various reasons why you need Greenland. So,
AI.
Okay. This is a different projection of the map than people are used to seeing. This is looking down at the what is that? The topological North Pole, not the geomagnetic North Pole. So we're looking down along the Earth's center axis here. Now, the chart here is trying to show missile flight paths. And the point he's making is that Murmansk, which is the Russians' big boomer base, basically they just sail out into the Sea of Murmansk, launch their missiles, and go back home. And Denmark, or I love how they labeled it Denmark, Greenland does sit along the flight path for that. There is he doesn't mention it in here, but I saw this percolate up on the European feeds from Euros trying to rationalize this. And I thought it was an interesting thought. It was an interesting idea. And they were saying that the French, or not the French, the Brits and who else was it? Somebody else has nukes. Might be who else is it? Somebody else over there. But the French too. What they were saying is these nations are trending radical Islamic. The United States cannot let a radical Islamic government get control of the nuclear weapons of these states. And if you look, the flight path to the U.S. for those nukes out of Great Britain also goes over Denmark.
Well,
it was an interesting idea.
The UK doesn't really have nukes. The nukes they have been supplied by the U.S.
Correct.
I don't think they've ever developed their own nuke. France has.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Germany has not. I don't think there are any European countries other than France and Britain, France and the UK, that have nukes.
Yeah. No, sorry. I get it confused because there are
Turkey
countries.
doesn't. Pakistan does. India does.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
no,
well.
it's okay. You could correct me. That's
No,
record.
you're
I
you're
looked
right.
this up the other day, but a lot of them are supplied by the U.S. and I wonder if we have kill kit.
But not France's. France developed their
France,
own.
their own. Yeah, France. Did their own.
UK never developed their own. We were smart enough to say, no, don't bother. We'll give you some. So we still have control.
We kind of have control. The Brits do retain the launch keys for theirs, so they can fire them independently. They just need us for maintenance. They need us for parts, is what they need.
Okay.
So the interesting thing about this is not actually the missile flight paths, and the bulk of this post is not spent on missile flight paths. It's just a good map that kind of shows you the top down what you're actually getting when you get Greenland. And what you're actually getting is what's called the Northwest Passage here. If you can, it's this chunk of water. The theory being that as the planet warms up, this passage will become more and more open for longer and longer during the year, and that China will be able to sail their subs through here and then launch at us from inside the Golden Dome. Inside's kind of stretching things a little bit because there's still going to be a line of defenses along the northern border with Canada. Which reminds me, I forgot I have a different link, but now that we're talking about Canada, I should pull it up. I just have it stored somewhere else. Here we go. We'll do this.
Oh, that's really small. Okay.
Here we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
Prime Minister Carney of Canada forges new strategic partnership with People's Republic of China focused on energy, agri-food, and trade. The specifics of this deal are China, because particularly after Venezuela, wants they need a new supply of that heavy crude. Well, Alberta produces tons of tar. What do they call that? Shale sand or something like that.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
No,
It's similar heavy crap.
No, not really. Yes, they produce it up there, but they also refine it up there into synthetic crude. Syncrude. And it comes down to the U.S. They don't pump heavy shit out of Northern Alberta.
True. Well,
and that's what it's a big controversy up there. They're using huge amounts of natural gas because it takes hydrogen to crack this crude into a synthetic component so it's pumpable. But all of it comes down through the corner of North Dakota or through North Dakota, Minnesota, pretty much down to Chicago. And there is minimal pipeline capacity from Alberta to British Columbia.
Oh, I'm aware. The part of the deal was, and part of the deal was China wants that crude pumped out to BC so that they can float it to China. They were very specific about that. Yes, they would have to build new pipelines. You're absolutely correct. They did just
Trans Mountain Pipeline would be the one they have to build.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty easy to blockade, wouldn't it, though?
It would, yes, but the Canadians are kind of off in la land in terms of the United States. I mean, we just yoinked the president of an entire country for funsies in 90 minutes, but they've decided that, I mean, you guys probably saw the news hit Canada war games, a U.S. invasion. I'm sitting here thinking, it won't be an invasion. It'll be another 90-minute assault that you guys are woefully unprepared for if you force us to do it. But the thing is, here's the thing about Canada if we get Greenland. Okay, that's Alaska up at the top of the screen.
All right.
That's Greenland at the bottom.
Vancouver to kind of the top left, yeah.
Yeah. And then
that's saying we could blockade the Vancouver really easily.
Right. Well, we could. If we get
Yeah.
Greenland, we now control the eastern shipping lanes out of Canada. Canada becomes, regardless of what they think of themselves, they become a vassal state of the United States. Everything they want to do becomes subject to our economic veto.
Yeah. But you're talking about Canadians as if they're of one mind.
Can't hear you, Steve.
You're talking about Canadians as if they're of one mind.
I'm
Albertans,
aware that
the Albertans are not. Fuck you, Canada. We're thinking about joining the U.S. I mean, the Albertans are more like Texans than they are. They have more in their mental outlook is more like a Texan than it is like a Toronto Canadian from Ontario.
Yeah, I was.
Oh fuck! You know what? I love Alberta. They're great people in Alberta. Alberta might vote to become a U.S. state. We might gain Alberta before we gain Greenland. So while we were visiting family these holidays, my dad, it was my rental car, so I was the driver. My dad pulled up a podcast, and it was a podcast dealing specifically with Albertan independence. Oh. And here's what they said. And this was talking directly to people who were involved in high-level negotiations with the White House. This would be early December of last year. Here's what they said. They said, the White House has no interest in bringing Alberta into the United States because the moment we do that, we have to bring Puerto Rico, and the Democrats are going to agitate for DC statehood as well. So this is a can of worms. We don't want to open it up. It's not going to get us anything. We prefer, but what he did say is the United States would love it and would support, this administration would support Alberta becoming an independent state. Okay, kind of the same scenario. Yeah, all of the economic upside, none of the political downside, I think is what, but so know that this is going on. And I don't have the podcast. My dad brought it up on his phone. I don't have any links to it. So you guys will just have to, you can go look for it if you want to. But Albertan independence is being talked about seriously. Apparently there is a plebiscite scheduled. I don't know when. I think it's later this year about independence. So yeah, it could happen. Yeah. It's not, if Alberta goes that way, Saskatchewan, yep, probably a greater than 50% chance they say me too. Probably, yeah. If Saskatchewan goes, Manitoba is gonna say, yeah, count us in. Maybe not. And then the eastern part of British Columbia is going to say, don't leave us behind. We don't care about Vancouver. So, okay.
You brought it up, Steve. On this same podcast, they mentioned Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and they said, yeah, they would want to come from. We're pretty sure they want to come along for the ride. They did mention Eastern British Columbia, but actually more Northern British Columbia. And here's the other. They mentioned two more. There's actually two more that definitely would. That's Yukon and Northwest Territories.
No shit.
And what he was saying on the podcast was, yeah, the United States would actually really like to build a highway through Calgary, Edmonton, Northwest Territories, Yukon to get to Fairbanks. And then they can put pipeline, then we can put a pipeline there, and we can stop shipping crude through Anchorage and start piping it through these new territories. But what this would do fundamentally is it would turn Canada into this weird patchwork. None of it does not want to go. And if you look at a map and you look at their ethnic breakdowns, you can kind of see why. None of it is getting huge amounts of support from Ottawa right now. Ontario is, of course, a bunch of freaking retards. The Quebecois have always been agitating to go their own way, but without Alberta and Saskatchewan in particular, and the oil that those two federal states, whatever they call them in Canada, pump out, Ontario will no longer be able to provide the bribe payments to the Quebecois that they currently pay. So
I've known this for a long time. Canada is fucked without Alberta.
Yes.
Absolutely fucked. Because Alberta is the economic engine of Canada because of the oil that comes out of there. The transfer payments from Alberta to support the rest of Canada are huge. Without Alberta, Canada damn near becomes a third world country. And I just saw yesterday the per capita income in Ontario is about the same as the U.S. per capita income in Alabama.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It's horrifying.
Okay, it's not close to New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan. You know, the power, the Rust Belt of the U.S. and Ontario used to be equivalent to those. No, fuck no. It is bad. Ontario, Canada, if Alberta leaves, Canada is screwed. And historically, you know, BC, British Columbia, there was a controversy whether they would become part of the U.S. or part of Canada. Well, 150 years ago, something like that. And it was political games that Britain really wanted. Remember, Canada is really not Canada. It's a Commonwealth. Canada is still a proxy of Britain.
Yes, which is why the Brits are screaming so hard about everything we're doing, particularly with Greenland, because if you look at Greenland, take Greenland, we control the trade. You basically break the Commonwealth, and the Brits know it.
Yeah, they do.
So the Brits don't like it. Of course, the Danes don't like it. You know, no one likes it over there because
Europe
now
like it. Don't you remember about 2 weeks ago? Europe sent soldiers over to Denmark, over to Greenland. I mean, there was like 3 from Italy and 15 from Germany and 25 from Denmark and about 12 from Britain. And they chartered a ship and sent like 100 soldiers.
It was an airplane. I saw a video of him getting off the airplane.
It was a trivial. It was just one airplane.
It was one airplane.
And it wasn't full, was it?
No, well, it was a 737, so it wasn't even a big airplane. About 150 maximum people could be on that plane, and it wasn't even that much. It wasn't a full airplane.
No, I'm not saying it. U.S. is justified to take over Greenland. I'm not making an immoral argument here. Just making a force argument that the combined powers of Europe cannot prevent this should we decide to do it. That's the only thing I'm saying here. There's no moral justification. Now, I can make a moral argument, not airtight though.
Okay. Well, the purpose of this episode is not morals. That could be for a different day, but what, Nick?
Well, you also have the problem, we haven't talked about it. How much of Canadian government, since we're talking about Canada a little bit, how much are they being dictated to people that think that I am a Canadian and let me tell you why I belong here?
Anybody catch the accent Nick's using?
Sounds like a typical Canadian accent from the Canadian truckers I see.
It does sound like that, doesn't it?
Curry tastes very good.
Well, if oh man, Canada is such a basket case. They're making a deal with the Chinese, who are the perennial enemies of the Indians, but they have more Indians inside their country than they do Canadians. It's kind of like, oh my god, the Canadians are politically retarded. Now, and look, here's
we've always thought of Canada as our best buddies. They're just like us, only they say, hey.
Well, Steve,
Britain, but now we got the swarms of people that they fought to kick out of Europe for, like, I don't know, about 1,200 years or so.
The crescent. The crescent moon and star people.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that the people of India were a British protectorate. They're basically Brits with dark skin. I mean, they were part of the Commonwealth. Don't think that just because they declared independence, they're not British-minded, or that the UK, the British, let me say the British, are not facilitating the migration of people from the Indian subcontinent, Pakistanis and Indians, to Canada. And this is a continuity here that, remember, the U.S. has fought Britain directly. What is the only country that has invaded U.S. soil since our independence? That would be Britain, War of 1812. Financially, a lot of our stuff has been controlled by London, even 10 years ago. Keep in mind, the mortgage rates in the U.S. were defined by LIBOR, London Interbank Offering Rate. I think that's what it stood for. U.S. mortgages were triggered set by a rate in London. They retained some financial power over the U.S. We have, in some ways, we never completely separated from Britain until recently, and we're still kind of at it.
So, I'm looking for an article here. this happened yesterday. It's a free trade deal between the EU and India, but no one is saying, I can't seem to find anybody who's mentioning at all that it includes essentially an open borders regime between India and the EU. No one's, none of the major rags are willing to talk about it. So we'll just go back here. That is part of it, guys. The podcast, the Lotus Eater guys were talking about this. It's not, you still need a visa, but it's basically if you apply, you get a visa. It's kind of like it's almost a visa free regime. You just have to pay your duties. And the other thing that the Indians did in this agreement is it's very similar to what we've done here with our student visas. You get a student visa to Britain and you get an automatic 1-year extension work visa, similar to our OPT program.
Yeah, well, you did a stream on Rivers of Blood.
That wasn't the title of it because YouTube doesn't like that, but yes.
Okay. That was what?
It's called Immigration Again, by the way. Is the title.
What's his name? Enoch Powell.
Enoch Powell, yes.
In the 1960s, observing the immigration into the UK. They came, they were British citizens that moved in because they came from British protectorates, part of the Commonwealth. Who separated? Where did a lot of them come from? Pakistan and India. And they were allowed to come in because they actually were British citizens. So Britain and India and Pakistan have always been very similar. I mean, kind of, yeah, they have different skin colors, but all the Indians coming into the U.S., don't just think they're Indian. Don't just think they're Pakistani. Why do they speak English? Because of their historical 200 plus year influence of Britain. And it didn't just end with India and Pakistan gaining independence. The Indians and the Pakistanis are still proxies of British influence in many cases.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one. The next two posts are related. This is a guy, he's talking about this decoupling thesis. And he's talking about, this is kind of a finance post. I won't get too much into the finance side of it. But he's talking about breaking of the currency. That's this rupture he's talking about here. But he's okay. Here I'll just read it. I think it's a good post.
Yeah.
When I first posted my decoupling thesis, the immediate pushback was that this was just Trump seeking another way to generate revenue, and he was too stupid to come up with a strategically complex plan. Now, consensus has shifted towards a rupture of the rules-based order and a shift towards realpolitik, where middle powers will gain strategic autonomy. Consensus is retarded. Broadly speaking, true. The current rupture was manufactured by design by Besant & Co. That's Stephen Besant,
Treasury Secretary
of the U.S. It was done in a way to mitigate the agency of said middle powers. Because when you remove the second pole, China, in a multipolar transition, you solidify hegemony by removing game theory optimal outcomes. Options. Sorry. Canada is about to get crushed. Mexico will be brought to heel. Cuba will collapse. Europe will go through a series of liquidity crises that will put every one of the incumbent parties on death watch. Winter is coming. Many of you are just too slow to see the thermometer going haywire.
Scroll
Okay.
up again. Oh. Scroll up to the top of the post. Okay. Decoupling. This is regards to
Europe and the US, specifically
Yeah,
NATO.
Who are the middle powers?
Do you want to define it for us, Steve? Do you want to define it for the audience?
I have my suspicion. Could that be the old powers?
Well, I mean, there is just a definition for it, but
I don't know. You tell me.
Okay, so a middle power is just a country that has significant influence, but it's not a superpower. It's not the US. It can't enforce its designs on the whole world, right? It's so a great example of a middle power is India. It has an enormous amount of international influence, in part through its large diaspora, but it does not hold world-spanning power. Okay, it does not. It cannot move. It cannot convince the major powers to do something.
So, would middle powers include the United Kingdom?
Yes.
Pretty much
the
all
EU.
of Europe?
Yes.
EU?
Yes.
Israel?
I don't even know if they qualify as a middle power, but
maybe not. But okay, India. Russia is not a middle power.
That's correct.
Russia is bigger than that. China is not
for now. Well, see,
Japan
but that's the thing.
is not really a middle power. Maybe borderline, but Japan is more military power than Britain, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Russia is rapidly becoming a middle power. I agree that it's not there yet, but it is. And because of its nukes, it will stay a middle power for quite some time once it reaches that status, provided they can keep the country.
It's a major power, maybe shrinking towards a middle power, but it will remain pertinent for a long time.
Correct. Yes, that would be my assessment. So there. Part of the reason I wanted to bring this up is because, and Steve, I know this is catnip for you. There is absolutely a financial angle to everything that's going on here, an economic angle. Yeah. And it's like catnip for Steve over there. So I had to bring it in. Oh.
Well, that's good because there are financial wars going on for financial survival and dominance. There is political survival and dominance. There is military survival and dominance. And there is just mere survival of your culture. For instance, Iran, they're not worried about financial dominance or military dominance. They're just, you can disagree with them, but they're at a civilizational survival doing what they think as a country they need to do to just survive. Now, yes, there is unrest in their country. So I'm not picking sides here. I'm just saying, yes, they're worried about their existential survival.
Oh yes, totally. So I realized this post that I had the order flipped on these. This is the same guy, the post I just read, he's referring back to this one. He says, and I'll read it to you guys because it's kind of a long one, but it's a good one. He says, I'll put it simply. Europe as an entity is about to go through a seismic shift. The incumbent parties made promises they cannot keep with debt they can barely refinance, let alone pay back, to constituencies that are quickly realizing the policy choices made were disastrous. Take a step back and forget about the rhetoric and moral indignation around Trump and Greenland. Focus on the realities. The fiscal situation in countries like France and the UK are horrendous, and they are. It's terrible. Okay. The protest parties are becoming the silent majorities despite attempts to suppress dissent and speech. None of these countries have the luxury of reserve currency status. Okay. That's a superpower thing, right? So, Steve, you're asking how do you define it? Well, superpowers they have that kind of leverage. Their currency is in demand across the world. The Europeans don't have this. Any hopes they had died in 2012 with the Cyprus bank confiscations. No one will
died.
What?
A lot of this died post World War II, anyways, when we basically controlled maritime trade throughout the world. And they used the dollar as reserve currency.
Yes. Okay.
Also was taken away with the end of LIBOR.
Yes.
And what was successor?
SOFR.
SOFR.
SOFR. Secured overnight financing rate.
And it's also being attacked right now with the price of silver going up.
Mm-hmm.
Because that takes away the power of the LBMA, London Bullion Market Association, because they set the price of a lot gold, silver, and other commodities. It was a big deal. And remember, I don't know how deep this goes, but the pound. What is the official name of the pound?
Pound sterling.
Oh, do you think there might be some contracts, agreements that are maybe 100, 200, 300 years old that are still denominated in pound sterling, which requires settlement in pounds of silver? And if silver goes up markedly, dramatically, 3, 4, 5, 10 times, do you think it's going to disrupt things on the other side of the pond?
Yes.
Okay, there is shit going on that we have no idea about.
And frankly, we are not well enough connected in our little corner of the world to know. So some of what we're doing here is speculating, and also just kind of like we're pointing at the smoke and they're saying there might be a fire over there.
Exactly. Yes.
Because that's what we do here. We're not super well connected,
No, not at all.
So, but what we can do is we can see smoke. So, okay. Most of these countries have little in the way of geological abundance or vibrant technology centers. Fun little fact on this. I saw a report in 2023, I believe. The EU made more money on tech by levying fines against US tech companies than they made in taxes from their own tech companies. That is the opposite of a vibrant tech center. They were loosely smashed together during a period of unipolarity. This would be the post-war, post-World War II.
Okay.
America is the only game in town.
That is classic NATO.
Yes, exactly, Nick. NATO. That is quickly coming undone. They have massively underinvested in their own defense, instead focusing on a welfare state. And yet, other than Germany, none of them can even afford that. And Germany can only barely afford it.
Oh, Germany's made some bad decisions and is not in the condition it was 10 years ago. They're hurting.
Yeah, shut down all your nukes and find out just how much life sucks when you don't have energy. So, and this is where the post gets in. This is a great geopolitical post. And now China's coming for their lunch, rocketing up the value add ladder in areas like chemicals, machinery, autos, and pharma. Pharma I agree with, the fentanyl makers, but autos, they're still struggling there.
Yeah, they're gaining.
They're gaining, but they're struggling. The Chinese are kind of like the Russians in this way. The more complex the device being built, the more they struggle with it. Or the more complex the industry. So resource extraction is a very simple industry in theory. Yes, Nick, I know that there's actually a lot of tech that goes into it, but the labor side of it, pretty simple. Drill hole in ground, stuff comes up, harvest stuff and ship it.
For it.
Yeah. The supply chains for the tech, for like the oil and gas industry are much less varied than they are for tech. Something like 9,000 different companies are involved in making the machines that print your CPUs for your computers and cell phones.
Wow.
There might be 9,000 companies at all in oil and gas that are involved in making that work. This is not to diminish oil and gas and the value they provide. It's just to say that technologically it's a much simpler thing to pull off than building a high-end CPU. So, and the Chinese are climbing that ladder too, by the way. He just doesn't mention it here. And don't get me started on demographics and difficulty he's talking about Europe here, and difficulty integrating the migrants they would need to sustain their economy long enough to pay down the pensions they owe. I want you to close.
Got that right.
Yes, Poland. Little American Texas, or little European Texas. Sorry. Now we're going to do an imagine. He wants you to close your eyes and imagine the following. Trump closes America to European exports. Bessent closes all swap lines and dollar liquidity access to European central banks. NATO is disbanded and Trump moves all soldiers back to the Western Hemisphere. No LNG is exported to Europe. Instead, that natural gas is diverted to building American AI. Trump institutes a capital tax on American stocks held by Europeans, which Europe is relying on to fund said pensions. America renounces its desire to be the reserve currency and aggressively implements YCC, stands for yield curve control. Basically, this would be the Federal Reserve sits on it just says, here's the yield curve. We did this during World War II. And it forces the certain things to happen in the economy. I'm not going to get too much into it, but inflation is one of the things that happens. And inflates away foreign held debt. Okay, here's the thing. There are three things in here that would absolutely just wreck Europe. Okay. The first, and these are all financial, by the way. Bessent closes all swap lines and dollar liquidity access to European CVs, central banks. I cannot begin to describe to you how devastating that would be. And this is the third on my list of things that matter the most. I have 1 and 2 are still coming. Okay. Even yield curve control. The Europeans would hate it, but they kind of know how to deal with it, because when we were doing QE, we effectively had a yield curve control for part of the curve. It's the short end, so less than a year. So they kind of know how to get around this. It wouldn't be good for them, but there's things that they can do here. The thing that would just completely destroy them is this one. This would be
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Did European banks create dollars?
Yes. That's called the euro dollar.
Could that be the euro dollar?
Yes.
They had euro dollars, well, US dollars in their bank, and then they created loans just like any US bank did. So they got $1 million in their account.
Mm-hmm.
And they loan out $100 million.
Yep.
Because is there any restriction that the U.S. Federal Reserve has on their reserve requirements to create dollars if it was over in Europe?
No, there's no.
So can we kind of do things to take away their ability to create dollars, which when you have $1 million and you loan out $100 million and you get interest on that $100 million of like 6% a year, you're getting considerable dollars. Are we going to screw with that too?
Well, he says American stocks.
Well, I mean, okay, we're just bit players here. We don't have any true insight, but we kind of know a little bit about a lot of things. And so all these things come into play. Know what's happening here.
Yeah. Well, and okay, I'll make a point about this. He's asking you to imagine. He actually says later in the post that this really isn't something that you're likely to see all of this done. That's either later in this post or a different post he does. Here's the thing. A large portion of bonds in the US are actually in ETFs and are traded like they're stocks. So for example, I love me some TLT. That is the long end of the American Treasury, US Treasury curve. So it's 20 to 30 year US Treasuries. I love me some TLT in my portfolio right now. There's tons of TLT floating around and TLT like equivalents floating around Europe right now. Yes, they also have their version of stock, like you can trade Tesla in Europe on the European exchanges. They have all of that kind of stuff. What the capital tax, particularly when combined with the yield curve control, would be just beyond ruinous to the European Union. Oh man, it would happen fast. Like this would be like 6 months, which is light speed for the financial world, particularly when we're dealing with bonds. So, okay. Take a deep breath and really think about what does Europe do if this happened? What are their cards? I'll tell you what happens. First, the French will riot. The French will riot anyway because the French rioted everything. Macron will be dragged through the streets naked. That's actually probably true. Next, they'll come for Keir Starmer. You'll see movements towards the right that would make the mustache man and the young buck banned from YouTube blush. You guys don't seem to understand how close the world is to this happening. The line is literally one guy, Scott Bessent, not Trump, Bessent. He's the only one who cares deeply enough about saving the world Davos represents. Everyone else is content with Pax Americana in the Western Hemisphere. Notice how we were talking about Greenland and Alaska and Venezuela, right? Trump's really focused on the Western Hemisphere. Like this is
like early. That's like late 19th century, early 20th century America.
The Monroe Doctrine.
Yeah,
that's the name of this. Is the Monroe Doctrine. So as you watch all the bullshit being spewed on stage by the Europores, I want you to remember what their fiscal house looks like and what has enabled the welfare states that they cherish and how close they are to losing it all. Winter is coming. And I think this post really gets at just how much power the United States has in the world. And this guy, Scott Bessent, he is not a far right, burn the world down guy. He's actually a pretty center, maybe even center left guy, right? He's not interested in wholesale destruction of the world order. He's not even really that interested in the United States becoming the global hegemon. I think we're headed that way. He's not the guy who's going to deliver it to us. But here's one thing I will tell you that Scott Bessent has said recently and in history. He wants a weaker dollar. Well, the weaker dollar is also devastating to the Europeans.
It's one thing that's missing here. You know who would really like this?
Who?
Russia.
No, they wouldn't. Well, they might think they would like it, but they would actually hate this because of this right here. Russia is a petrostate, and if the reserve currency fractures, the petroleum market fractures along with it, and Russia being a petrostate is completely dependent on access to U.S. dollars. It's part of the reason they scream so much about the Europeans blocking their access to U.S. treasuries, and it's why Russia entered inflation after the Europeans blocked their access to their U.S. Treasury accounts. So, because those are Russia decided, oh no, we can't let the New York Fed custody our U.S. Treasuries. No, we need to custody them in Brussels. Brilliant move there, guys. That's out of a thing called Euroclear is who currently holds the custodies the U.S. Treasuries for Russia. In fact, Russia is an example of what will happen to Europe as we do this, because it's the exact same mechanism that's being done to Russia right now. You basically cut them off from access to dollars, and they now have to start printing rubles, and they are printing rubles at a phenomenal rate right now to cover the debts, because no one wants rubles, so they have to get some other currency, but no one wants rubles. So they have to basically print up everything they need inside the country. That's the only way they can do things. They're shipping all their gold to China. That's the state of Russia right now. So that's, it's like, no, don't wish this on anybody. These are financial thermonuclear weapons that we're talking about here.
And we're at the fourth turning. It's been 100 years since the last kind of global. It wasn't just the American Great Depression. It was a global depression back then too.
Yes, it was.
So,
Tacticus, you are correct. Dubai would also hate this. I don't know if you guys remember 3 years ago, they announced this project called The Line. It was going to be this 100-mile long city. It's basically been canceled because the price of oil crashed.
No, it hasn't been canceled. It's just been scaled back. They're gonna still build like 1.2 kilometers worth of that.
Steve, they announced a couple weeks ago that there's no construction activity at all going on.
Oh, okay. So, they're gonna stop at 100 meters then.
Right. I know, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Same point.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to keep going. I still have more to get through. I am painting a picture. I am building up to something. Oh, dearie me. Data Republican. This is another great follow of mine on my other account. I'll do that here too. Data Republican is a literal internet autist, and I love her work because she is actually autistic. And this is a whole thread. I'm not going to get into it because this is a long thread. This thing just goes and goes. As I said, she's an internet autist. But basically, in this thread, he is describing how, well, here you go. I'll just read this paragraph. Ex-USAID employees describe how before January 20th, they moved internal groups off government systems, which is illegal, by the way, into encrypted signal chats. And we're not going to talk about Minnesota today because that's still ongoing. We're going to wait for that to develop a little more, although I am working on a basic, it ends up being a companion piece to today.
Great.
But so I am working on that. But look, I just want to read this paragraph. Then quickly linked with the foreign partners and NGOs after the inauguration. This attempt at creating a color revolution isn't news. This was already reported in Notice, and I don't remember what that stands for, earlier this year. But what's not reported is the international aspect. One participant explicitly frames it as a global anti-authoritarian movement, connecting with U.S. officials with colleagues from around the world who have dealt with this directly. And then they reference coordinating with John Hopkins, international democracy and conflict mitigation spaces, and efforts to mobilize across borders against what they perceived as domestic authoritarianism. Okay. That's all I want to read there, but
anti-authoritarian.
Anarchist.
Anarchist? Antifa? Antifa?
A bit.
Just a little bit there, Steve. Just a little bit. Okay. Now let's continue on this theme. This is dealing with the Minnesota stuff, but there was a guy. I don't have the tweet up in my list. A guy by the name of Cam Higbee who infiltrated their signal networks and exposed all of it to the point where they had to go and try to rebuild their networks. It was great. By the way, that's what information war. He actually exposed what an information war operation looks like from the inside. And you guys go read the thread. You guys need to read it.
The network was very sophisticated.
Oh, well, that's what this guy's talking about. This is Rick Delatorre. He is a retired senior operations officer at the CIA. He taught people how to do this. Encrypted comms, real-time tracking, organized rapid response team, smacks of foreign irregular warfare ops. As a retired CIA senior ops officer, I've seen Russia and China fund, train proxies to destabilize the U.S. from within. Time for a deep investigation into these networks before it escalates. Completely agree. Okay. Russia probably isn't heavily involved in the Minneapolis stuff. We do know that Antifa trains a lot down in Cuba and Venezuela, and those two countries were far more in bed with China than they were with. I mean, Cuba has its ties back to Russia still, but Venezuela, China would be the big player here in my book. That's just me going off of what I see.
Don't dismiss possible involvement from MI6 or Mossad.
Sure, but I can't prove it. In fact, I can't prove
any of it. No, I have no proof. I'm just saying, if I'm looking for foreign players, I'm going to consider all of them.
Particularly the UK, GCHQ. If you guys know what that is,
Yes.
I would be shocked if GCHQ was not involved in some of this tacitly. Okay. Okay. That's okay. We've only got a few more left. But so you guys are starting to get this picture that I've been painting. I hope. Okay. We're gonna save him for later. Okay, because he's kind of my final point. As I said, these weren't necessarily in order. Joshua Steinman, 2X Iraq War vet, and Trump 45 National Security Council. So this guy knows some things. He's not 47, but he was on the 45 National Security Council. He had a high level clearance. Has submitted a national security related amicus brief in the pending birthright citizenship case before SCOTUS. This is a critical angle that has gone largely ignored in the discussion of this case. He writes, in part, with a round trip plane ticket, a malign actor can send an expecting mother to the United States, receive mother and baby on return, indoctrinate and train the child, and then send the individual back to the United States to engage in espionage activity because they're technically American citizens. They hold an American passport, an American birth certificate. That mechanism, for instance, stymies major advances in digital surveillance and biometric technologies that make it harder for undercover agents to remain anonymous and operate in the target country under a false identity. Thus, with an extremely modest financial investment and the passage of time, that's the key here. We have to have baby, bring them home, indoctrinate them, and then send them back, right? So you've got, 18, 20 years to do this. But we've been operating under this immigration system for 35 years. That would be the 1990 Immigration and Naturalization Act. A foreign adversary can use geographically derived birthright citizenship to create a nearly undetectable human intelligent asset with no bonds of affection for his country of birth and carte blanche access to the United States. And as the example of Russia's illegals program, this was back during the Cold War, shows, malign foreign actors are perfectly willing to make such long-term plays. This is an angle that I don't think people are talking about right now at all.
I wonder how many Chinese are like that right now.
Here's what I'm going to say on that. It is not possible for us to know with any certainty if they are or not. So you must treat them all that way. That's the nearly undetectable part. Because of course they'd lie. They were born here. They speak the language. They have right. Why would they hate this country? This country's given them so much. How do you prove that they're not a foreign intelligence asset? You can't. It is not possible.
Kind of touched on the same issue on the Enoch Powell stream. Because he observed that the immigrants coming over might have actually, second generation might have been born there,
Mm-hmm.
still don't behave like indigenous.
Yes.
And therefore they remain part of the problem, even though they might have been born on the soil of
Correct.
Of the UK. Okay, same damn thing here. Just, is it an immigrant thing or a U.S. citizen thing? No, it's deeper than that. And countries 150 years ago, they were more ethnically driven. And if you came in and were a foreign national and had kids and stayed there 2 or 3 generations, you were still a foreigner. In fact, this is okay. In modern history, how many Koreans have lived in Japan for multiple generations and are still not Japanese?
Lots. Don't know the numbers. Lots.
So, okay, there's examples of this. This issue doesn't go away. It's historical, and it's okay. America, we don't think this way, but it's still reality in most of the rest of the world. We're just blind.
Oh man. Yeah, this is part of the problem the churches are also having. They just say, "Oh, just a bunch of racists." No, God established the boundaries of nations. Yeah. God determined the boundaries and times for nations. Yeah. And Deuteronomy says the wars of people when dividing mankind. I'm just saying.
I go back to the Tower of Babel. God wants division amongst the people. It was put into us from a very, very early stage of history. And that's where I take it back to. You know, that's a long way to go back, but there's supposed to be division amongst the peoples. That is God's order.
I don't want to take it to the nationalist thing.
Can't hear you,
I
Steve.
just want to say I don't want to take it to a nationalist identity. We don't need to go there. I have my family.
Mm-hmm.
I have my parents, my uncles, my cousins, my children. That's my family. I can define it. I know who it is. If it's big enough, it's tribal. A foreigner cannot come in to my family, be part of the family, except by marriage. And by
Correct, yes.
proper vetting.
Yes.
You can't just infiltrate and say, "No, I'm one of you." No, you're not. But there is, okay, you marry in. Okay, fine. There is some ability to cross that boundary and prove yourself over time. But you are vetted much stronger than what the U.S. vets.
Yeah.
Oh, you just show up on our soil? Give birth to a kid?
Magic dirt.
Oh, now you're one of us. Yay.
Magic dirt.
Yep. Magic dirt. We did a stream on magic dirt even. We've talked about this particular topic a lot, guys. Okay, next. The next is from the U.S. Senator from Missouri. So this is Eric Schmidt, and he says, "We need to get serious about expatriation for the Manchurian generation." I love that phrasing, by the way. That's why I pulled this up. Allowing this system
You would.
allowing the system to stay in place is civilizational suicide. We will either go ahead, Nick.
There's also another phrase called, I don't know who came up with it. It might have been Tucker or something. It's called suicidal empathy.
Who was that?
I don't know who termed the phrase.
I first saw it on Devin Erickson, but I don't know if he coined it. He's smart enough to have, so.
Gad Sod has a book on it, I guess.
It could have been Gad Sod who coined it too. Anyway, we will either become a sovereign nation once again, or we will sanction our own invasion. And this, of course, is the headline over 1 million Chinese within the US who could vote in 2030. Holy fucking shit. So,
Who could vote by 2030?
1 million Chinese with US citizenship could vote in
Okay.
2030. Yeah, 1 million. You want to swing some elections? 1 million votes will swing some elections. The margin that Trump won by was not 1 million votes. Okay. This is my last one. This is kind of where I'm trying to get to. We're going to start wrapping it up here. This is another guy, Green Beret Nap Time. I have like 18 series. He's an SOF guy. Politicians on the right, like Rand Paul, who ride their horses the highest, no matter how sore their tiny little balls get, are actively helping the left with their incessant pursuits of self-righteousness. Hey, Rand, I'm sure you've seen the raw intel. You are, after all, on the Senate Committee for Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, are you not? We are at war, and you absolutely know it. Literal Marxist insurgency networks and their funding apparatuses have been publicly identified in numerous cities. That includes funding. That funding includes foreign sources. Billions of dollars have been fraud has been uncovered. Most of it also going to foreigners. And even though you know we are at war, the left is pushing out activists to harass and interfere with ICE and CBP agents, and both the governor and mayor's offices are complicit. One of the things that was discovered in the Minnesota stuff was Peggy Flanagan, the lieutenant governor of Minnesota, was in the chats helping organize some other things. The chat organizers had access to rental car information and license plate reader, police license plate reader information. We still don't know how they got that. You sit there and come up with this bullshit that will only complicate the problem. This isn't some moral virtue signaling win. It's you pushing something that will likely have unanimous Democrat support, succeeding only in grandstanding and tying these individuals up in bureaucratic nonsense so that you can tell the mirror you did your part. Congratulations, bud. You just helped the very people that planned for all of this to happen in the first place. This is why we are doomed, Republicans, because of feckless virtue signaling cowards like Rand Paul that would rather watch it all burn than compromise so we can actually get something done. And I disagree with him that it's about compromise. Rand Paul is compromising, and that's the problem. And it's not just Rand Paul. There's a few others in there, but Rand Paul's kind of the thing. But the real thing that I want to point out here, we are at war. Because we talk about geopolitics and we talk about wars, and again, when we think of wars, we tend to think of the last war we fought, which was a dual front conventional war in Europe and the Pacific. There are many ways to fight a war. And, we said a lot about China, but even if China were to go at Taiwan, and even if Taiwan, and they were able to take Taiwan, and Taiwan falls to them, that would still be a small regional conflict. If the United States decides to get involved, I keep crunching the numbers and the math keeps coming out the same. I read Rand Corporation did another war game, and the Chinese just got raped by the U.S. Navy, and it wasn't even close. There were no scenarios where the Chinese could win. They ran like 20 different scenarios. 3, the Chinese could force a draw, and the rest they get various forms and sundries of just wiped out. So, I don't see a major global war, and I don't even see a civil war in the United States. What I see is a low-level information war. I see the troubles. Why? Because every single country in the world desperately wants what we have. Okay? They want us. But if they were ever to escalate the violence to the point where it was obvious that it was them doing this, our military would crush them like bugs and the whole thing goes away.
Okay, let me build on what this guy is saying.
Can't hear you, Steve.
Let me build on what this guy is saying. Is Minneapolis an organic movement?
Mostly not. I don't think so. Mostly not.
No.
Okay. Let's call it a fire. And the people who are protesting are the oxygen. We can't control the oxygen getting to the fire. How do we put out the fire?
You smother them.
What is the fuel?
Well, yeah, that's the other way. You can take away the oxygen and take away the fuel.
Okay. The fuel is the money.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have the capacity or capability of tracking funds? Oh, yeah. We can track the funds by these NGOs going to pay these people. Okay, we can track the signal. You know what? We can just say, that's it. No more government funds are going to social welfare programs in Minnesota. It's done. Do you think most of the people who are protesting have jobs?
They actually mostly do not.
Oh, so they're probably dependent on government sources. Now, okay, you can't cut off Minnesota funds, but how long can Minnesota pay these people their government benefits if federal funds are cut off? You don't have to send ICE agents. Oh, here's another thing. And I'm going to give Carl Denninger credit for this one. Okay, most of the protests, I understand, are not illegal immigrants. It's white women and
yes,
and male feminist poofy guys who are out there trying to gain the favor of the liberal white women, because that's the only reason men do anything, to try and gain favor of a woman. So anyway, all you have to do is start massively fining and jailing U.S. citizens that employ illegal immigrants. Okay, you're a white guy. You have, and you're employing a illegal truck driver or gardener, on your payroll. I mean, we have to be reasonable here. But if you're employing him, we're coming after you, buddy. And if you actually, there are laws on the books. If you pay anything for even the transportation cost of that person to go from point A to point B, and that person committed a crime at point B, you become an accessory to that crime. All of a sudden, you are just starving the whole system of money. So you're starving the illegal immigrants of money. Then what are they going to do? I think I might go home. You starve the Jessicas and the Karens of their EBT. I don't think I'm gonna keep doing this. Threaten their survival. I mean, you don't need to go out there and confront them head to head. You just starve them of the fuel, the money.
So, Steve, it sounds like you're saying that there won't be a hot civil war because there doesn't need to be.
There doesn't need to be.
And I think that's probably the core of our argument against a hot civil war is that there are so many other ways to prosecute these troubles, and these are troubles, that the only way we end up in a hot civil war is because we chose to go down that path. I can't say that we won't, but that's a hard ask.
So just because this is going on now, it's tolerated now, does not mean it will continue. Because, okay, I can have, just think of a natural gas line. It's hooked up to your house, the gas meter, and you send a line out into the middle of the lawn and light it on fire, but you got a valve at this end. I can stand back here and I can let it burn as long as I want, burn up as much fuel as I want. I can turn down the knob, turn up the knob. I can just enjoy it. But whenever I want it to stop, I just turn off the knob, turn off the valve. And even if you think, well, they're not going to do that. Hey, if things get bad enough, they will do that. Eventually, someone, even if they're complete idiots now, will say, hey, I got an idea. Let's just turn this valve off. And they will. And things get bad enough, they will do that.
Oh. Any thoughts?
Well, that was kind of my final closing thought is we are at war. We are at war with the rest of the world. That was kind of what the picture I was trying to paint today. But we're not at war with guns and bullets and artillery. We are at war for information, for truth, for, what is an American? We are sorting out who we are internally at the same time that we are dealing with the collapse of other nations around us. We've talked about China and their population implosion. We've talked about Europe and the retardation flowing out of there. We've talked about even a little bit of Russia and how, well, I mean, their demographics suck too. But here's the thing. We are the big dog. We are the biggest economy. We're the biggest military. And the one thing about humanity is that they see the big dog and they go, but I want to be the big dog. And so they have to fight us. It's part of their nature. Okay. And so all of them, all of the above are operating inside the United States to their own ends for their own purposes. Sometimes they work together. Sometimes they work against each other, but they are all here attempting to extricate from the United States what they believe is their due, which is what we used to fight wars over. Hey, I want those resources over there. Okay, they're doing that. They cannot beat us militarily, and there is no country that can beat us militarily. So what they're doing is they are using a Sun Tzu strategy, a weakness strategy. When you are weak, appear strong, but use deception, use cutouts, right? So China looks strong on paper. When you actually read the force tables, they're not nearly as strong as they say they are, but they're using all these psychology games and all of these manipulations instead, because that's what they can actually do.
Hey, we
What?
do that too.
Sure.
The situation is very complex. There is no good guys, there is no bad guys. They are doing what's in their best interest. They're playing their hand, we're playing our hand. That doesn't make them bad and us good. We're each playing our hand. Now, okay, are they abiding by moral principles? Maybe not. Are we abiding by moral principles in what we do? Maybe
Probably not.
So it's not good in it's bad
Yeah.
or bad. It's yes, okay, they're the opposition.
Yeah.
Don't think of them as bad guys. They're just the opposition.
Well,
And it's very complex.
well,
You know,
here's
they
here's
are
how
humans,
I want.
we are humans. They have the same desires to raise their family. Yeah, they have a different cultural perspective. I'm not condoning what they're doing. I'm just understanding they are humans too. They are mankind.
Yes, and there's very little about today that I was attempting to make any sort of morality. This was an overview. This was a look at what's going on, and really where I wanted to get to was the United States is at war with the rest of the world. It's just not a shooting war. It's an information war. It's an economic war. It's a and I don't begrudge them for doing what they're doing, but I desperately want people in the United States, particularly the people at the top, to wake up and smell the burning cordite of the war that's being fought. We have there's entire journalistic careers being formed. The Nick guy who did the Somali fraud, Cam Higbee, who was a nobody in the journalism space until he broke this story. Well, I mean, not a nobody, but no, he wasn't a household name, and now everyone on the right knows him, right? The fucking FBI had no idea any of this was going on. Kash Patel, oh yeah, we're going to open an investigation. Yeah, no, Cam Higbee did all the work. You just need to take his work and go to the courts and get your indictments. Oh, well, we can't do that because we have activist judges. We are at war, and we are the only entity, we are the only actor in this war who is not acting like we're at war. And
No
so
shit.
that's what this stream is about. This stream is a wake up. It's a wake up call. Wake up and smell the burning cordite, because everyone in the world is shooting at us right now. Yeah, they're not using bullets and artillery. They're just using information weapons. They're just using financial weapons. Again,
absolutely, we are at war. This is not a war of morality with good guys versus bad guys. We tend to fall into that as Americans. Think, oh, we're always the good guys. We're pro-democracy. Fuck you. We're just playing in our interest. They're playing in their interest.
Mm-hmm.
And think back to the Civil War. We had the Yankees against the Rebs. Both sides had families and children at home and were fighting for honor and country with the best interest. The soldiers were not good. There was no good and evil. Now, we've tried to make it a good and evil after the fact. But, they were pro-slavery. Fuck you. They were fighting for their soil.
Right.
So don't make this a good and evil thing. That doesn't mean you should not fight for what's important to you.
Go ahead, Nick.
Now, a lot of the Southern mentality in the war is like, all I know is y'all are down here.
Well, Nick, that's actually a very good way to think about this. All I know is the entire world is here. Some of them are playing propaganda games. Some of them are playing resource extraction games. Some of them are playing, espionage games, but they're all fucking here. And really, you're kind of right. At the end of the day, the morality of it, the morality of it is whatever it is, they are fucking here, and they need to not be here. Because we are the battleground of the next war. The battles are being fought here. The Chinese aren't fighting battles. The Chinese are a highly uniformed society. There's none of this stuff going on over there. None of it. We are the battleground. We are where the war is being fought, and we're asleep. The shells are exploding around us, and we are sawing logs like it's just another sunny Sunday.
I don't know if this makes sense. Or is
Can't hear you again, Steve.
I don't know if this is important or not. What was the population of the U.S. at the time of World War II in the 1940s?
We don't have, that's before our good numbers. I can get you the 1950 population. Is that close enough for you?
Sure.
1950 U.S. population, 151 million.
Okay, 151. The number I had in my mind for the 40s, 1940s, 145 million.
Okay, yeah, that's about right.
Okay, whatever. We were the powerhouse production of the world during World War II. And we sent how many million men to Europe?
No, it's 2 million total, I think. That includes the Pacific.
I thought it was more than that. I thought it was 7. But whatever it was, okay? Whatever it was.
Was it 7 million in the DoD total? Because there's different ways to count the number.
Okay. Whatever. A bunch of millions.
Yes.
Now we have 350 million. We don't produce diddly squat in our country.
Yeah.
Oh, but we got all the women in the workforce too. Uh-huh. Great. How's that working out for us? You know what? We could do it with less than half the number of people in this country and be highly productive and have growing standard of living and all that. And so if we had to deport, just theoretically, 100 million people, because they don't belong here, we'd be down to 250 million. We could still survive just fine.
We would probably actually do better than we did in the 1940s. We'd probably be better because there would be less. There'd be fewer forces counteracting us. At the beginning, I showed that Indian guy who posted sensitive documents to a public AI endpoint. It's not just the active operations. It's these are not even the ones who are nominally on our side against China, and India is very much on our side against China in dealings with China. They're just not smart enough to do what they're being asked to do. I mean, who thinks, oh yeah, I'm just going to upload all these contract documents and to public AI endpoint and let them ingest them? Oh, right. No, but just doesn't stop and think, oh yeah, that might be a bad idea. Just does it. That's
if they were
fighting.
Smarter, it wouldn't necessarily be any different or better.
True, but it's like there's so we have the active operations. There was some of the stuff I've been reading that I wasn't able to confirm in time for this episode, something like the Chinese setting up drone bases near U.S. military installations. Probably happening. The reporting on that is tough to get. Hard to get good sources on that. So I would call that an active operation.
Sure.
Yeah. But there's also incompetence. For example, you guys have seen the news. Windows 11 has had an awful lot of trouble lately. It's been crashing left and right. Most of the stuff, when you actually read what happened, it's just raw incompetence. Okay. But those crashes have a cumulative negative drag on the economy. People can't open up their computers to do their work. And you guys, I know you're thinking, the email jobs that the girls are doing. No. There's a lot of very real work that runs on these systems. Steve, I don't know what you use, dispatch software you use, but I'm guessing it runs on Windows.
I don't know. We had a cyber attack about 6 months ago. They detected it immediately. Just shut everything down. Fucking shut it down. And then brought systems up one at a time. Okay, remember,
that's how you do it.
I haven't told this to people. I work for a nationwide company. Things were fucked up majorly for about 2 weeks. I mean, there were routes. Okay, we're not delivering today. Nope, nothing's happening. And, I live in the hinterlands, so our systems where I work came up last. But it took them 2 weeks to recover. But nobody got client information and infiltrated or did any great damage. Oh, yes, it cost the company millions of dollars.
Well, that's what I mean.
They handled it well.
No, they did handle it.
There was competence. We had competent people because they were aware and they shut it down and took the immediate loss.
Right. But that still causes a drag on the economy. Why can we not do the things we did during World War II? Because we are already in a war. We are already fighting a war with the rest of the world. A cyber attack is an attack on the United States, particularly an attack on...
Absolutely. It was a war. It was an act of war.
Yeah. Particularly since it's striking at our food distribution system. Like that is key. That is a key foundational pillar of any country. Okay. That is okay. So there you go. We are under attack. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm not going to say, oh, no. We are under attack. The United States is the battleground of the next turning. It is the next great war.
Just so you know, yes, I deliver for one of the largest food distribution companies to grocery stores in the U.S. Okay, how big? I don't. Well, it's certainly in the top 10. Might be in the top 5. It's somewhere in there. Big, millions and millions of people get food delivered from the company that I work for. And there's, thousands of employees. Couple thousand truck drivers. It's a big deal. You attack us, it's an act of war. Now, okay, if there's 10 companies out there and somehow you can take them all down, man, you're going to have some big issues. If you take down our electric grid, Kid, that's an act of war. We have so many vulnerable systems. And, oh, you take down our pipelines. They got this thing called SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition.
Wow, you got that right. Love it.
Hey, I used to be an important person. That's long distance communications that controls all the pipeline pumping stations. Data's going back constantly. It's monitoring discharge and suction pressures and flow rates. Oh man, I was into that. I understand how all that works and how when you lose communications to one station, you have to drive your levels to safe limits, which means your throughput goes down. You take out the system, you shut everything off. There are so many vulnerabilities. You know what? All this stuff operates over the internet. And there are foreign powers who are looking at all this and probing to find out weaknesses. And there are weaknesses. Any big, complicated, complex system, there will be weaknesses. So we are at war because you better believe that we have mapped out the vulnerabilities in other countries. And they've mapped out our vulnerabilities. We don't screw with them as long as they don't screw with us until we need to screw with them. It's like mutually assured destruction.
Well, and in our case, we have been incredibly forgiving of their screwing with us, and they know that, which is why they do it. So I think my message tonight is we are at war. We need to wake up to the fact that we are at war. We need to accept that we are at war and that this is not a war that is going to be fought primarily with guns and artillery, but with the human mind. And it's not a war we know how to fight very well. It's not a war we're equipped to fight very well. The world is going to be a radically different place at the end of this war, but you must get yourself in the mindset that you are at war. And that's all I have to say for tonight. I know it's a great uplifting message of peace, love, and happiness, right?
Yeah, let's let Nick have the final word.
Yes, let's.
Oh, there's going to be wars and rumors of war. At the beginning of this episode, we did the Civil War thing. But there's going to be global conflict. Sure. Global upheaval, maybe not. But we have like Plutarch says, a war going on here. Could it? Actually, it is. There are real conflicts going on, not just with the mind. Could it escalate further? I think it will. Will it be people lining up in lines and having, artillery barrages and all that stuff? No. It'll be like the Troubles. You'll have localized conflict.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What we end up with as a nation, who knows? I guarantee you the commies want the left to win, and it looks like they might win the midterm. So expect more conflict.
Yep. Couple of comments from the audience to finish us out. Silent wars are the hardest to detect and win. Tacticus, absolutely agree. Andrew, war is upon us, whether we would risk it or realize it or not. Absolutely agree. Yeah. this was a fun one. Took me a lot of time to put this one together. These geopolitics ones are always taxing. And I am still working on one, about what's going on internally in this country. I guess you could call it a companion piece to this one. It's just that information is a little newer, a little more unsettled. And as you guys know, we say this all the time, we do not immediately rush out there and jump on the news. And yes, we mentioned a couple of things that are going on today, but wasn't really the focus. They're going on right now, up to and including today. We don't run around, because here is one thing I will say: the people who lose this war, are going to be the ones who lose their heads. They're going to be the ones who lose control of their emotions, who lose control of their frame, who lose control of their command of rational thought. We didn't talk too much about the red pill today, but the red pill is the sort of mental foundation upon which you need to be building your ability to fight this war, because this war is not going to be won with guns and artillery. It's going to be won by men who stand up and say, we reject all of your propaganda predations. This is the truth. This is our story. This is who we are. So, sorry, I didn't mean to keep going. This is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. Saturday, Elena has not told me what she's planning on doing. But she says in the comments that it'll be fun. You can join if you dare. No, the discussions are usually really pretty good. Next week, again, no idea what we're doing. I will not have the companion piece to this one ready, so it'll be up to Steve and Nick to figure out who's going to do what. But if you guys like what you heard, want to hear more, drop us a subscribe. If there's somebody you think needs to hear this message, and there's a lot of this that I'll admit people can skip over. There's a lot of wonky, heady analysis and stuff going on in here. But and I'll have Elena clip probably the last bit of the show where I really get to the point, that we are at war. But please share this or that clip with people who need to hear it, because there's lots of them who do. Go ahead,
I hope we left our audience more confused than they were before they tuned in. And the reason for that is, yes, situation is fluid. You got to keep your eyes open. You got to draw your own conclusions. Don't assume anything. I don't know what's going to come. Keep your eyes open.
Keep your head on a swivel, as my dad would say.
Yes.
And I mean, part of the reason that I wanted to touch on all of the various parts of the world was precisely because of that. Keep your eyes open. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep looking around, because these attacks are coming from the whole world. So, yeah, please share this with somebody who needs to hear it. There's lots of boomers who need to hear this. So if you have any boomers in your life who need their heads pulled out of the sand a bit, please share this with them. And we will see you all Saturday for what I'm sure Elena will have something that goes after women, because that's what she usually does. And then Wednesday, it'll be either Steve or Nick, and we will see you all then. Bye.
There was a firefight! Son of a bitch!